Hello, beautiful people. I have been posting and getting just awesome feedback and stuff from the community about narcissistic personality disorder. So I wanted to take a minute to just explain exactly what that is, because some people were responding, I think maybe just mistaking this with maybe just a super self-centered person or somebody who's depressed. Um, Narcissistic personality disorder can, it takes place in the cluster B psychology, and in that uh, psychology group um, are things like manic depression and bipolar and schizophrenia and many others, and people can have multiple layers of these, and then they can also have something and not necessarily have narcissistic personality disorder. So just to clarify on what that is, it's very specific and very different. And I thought I would give a personal example that would be easy to, um, you know, relate kind of what's going on. So, those of you who have not been in relationship with these people definitely will, it'll sound like a story, something from a novel. Like, who would do that? And oh my God, how could you ever take that person back after that? And things like this. And unfortunately, yes, I did take this person back, but I had more learning to do, and I do also honor the whole process. Everyone is our teacher, and some lessons are a lot harder than others, and they will always keep presenting themselves until we get kind of the anecdote, or yeah. So in this case, what happens is there's an emotional abuse cycle. And I'm just going to give you an example because it's very complicated. So here's a good example. I went on a trip for 2 months, and before I left, I had been dating the person for about a month, and felt a little bit like worried about, leaving and what was up between us. But, at the time, he just kept reassuring that, this was basically the beginning and everything was great. And, you know, um, so the whole time I was away for that 2 months, very far away with a lot of no service, he was very persistent about checking in with me, about, anytime I got back to service, there would always be messages, you know, um, call me when you're in service, reach me here, da 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 da, what are you doing? So this is part of the setup, is the love bombing, and also the whole beginning is like a fairy tale, and it very much mirrors what it would feel like to, truly be in love with someone after getting to know them, after, all of this. But it happens without all of that. It happens very instantaneously, and they kind of lock onto you, and they don't leave, and they're always there. And this is, of course, in friendship or intimate relationships. I won't get into the parent thing right now. Now, then what happened was constant reassurance, constant wanting to connect, and then was going to pick me up at the airport, talk to me right before I got on my plane, so maybe 12 hours before I arrived at the airport. Said, yeah, I can't wait to see you. I'm going to have your dog, which he was supposed to be taking care of. So come to find out, I land and there's no person, and of course my cell phone died right like on my trip back. There was too much humidity for too long, and it was just done. So I got a bus from the airport, feeling a little bit like, what's going on? And there was some excuse, and couldn't get my phone. Did get like the loudspeaker or whatever at the airport. It was odd. And so then I'm just like, and then he meets me later, with my dog, who he supposedly was taking care of for 2 months, which I found out later, he not only was not taking care of my dog, he was having the girl he was sleeping with while he was adamantly getting in touch with me while I was on my journey. He was having her take care of it. And the reason he didn't get me was because he couldn't get the dog before I arrived. And so he didn't show up because he had to go get the dog. And then that night it was really weird. Like, I just sensed that something was just so off and wrong. And so then the next day he tells me he's taking 40 days of celibacy right when I got back. And we didn't have intimate contact the one night I was there. It was really weird. Like, he slept in the bed next to me. But it was just like weird. Like, we were holding hands, like laying face up, like stiff, and it was like, what the hell is going on? So the next day he wants celibacy for 40 days. So this is the narc, right? The whole time he's been totally playing me, totally like just gaslighting me, telling me, oh no, that's red, when I can see plainly that it's, a different color. So this is what one of the tactics is, and the emotional abuse that gets us sucked into the Stockholm syndrome, where you are addicted to your abuser because you think that's love. And a lot of that comes from our childhood and having a narcissistic parent. So then come to find out, he's also he's actually done with the girl who took care of my dog. And freaking karma's amazing. In a room of literally 50 people, she and I practiced right next to each other the day after he told me this. I knew nothing. At the end, Shavasana, she's next to me and we were cramped, skin to skin. She starts crying. I had just gotten back from Thai massage training, so I naturally, got up and started giving her Thai massage. She was somebody I knew as well, like just from being at yoga and things like that. So, so then she broke down and told me everything, and turns out he was already moving on to new narcissistic supply. And then that person who was supposed to be my friend, the new narcissistic supply, who narcissists will team with narcissists and feed off each other. So the new one was a narcissist. The old one, like me, that was discarded, was a codependent and healing person. So then he teamed up with someone who I thought was my friend, and we had actually gone to her classes together and all of this. Anyway, a huge mess you can clearly see, where deception was months in the making, and more than that. It was going on before I left, and I know that now. I know all those signs. I know why everything was weird. I know that I just kept not trusting myself, So this is narcissistic personality disorder, and that's narcissistic abuse. And I was, sick for months. I gained a bunch of weight, and I isolated like hell. The only thing I worked on were bigger world matters. The narcissistic abuse really got me into a place of I don't matter, what I do matters. So I was involved in some causes and starting business that I thought, was good for the greater humanity. And that was the only thing I could really bring myself to work on. If it was anything for me personally, it's like shower, a couple times a week. And I didn't unpack my bag from that trip for 6 months, and my house was just a mess. And so if you've been through this, it's not a normal person. It's not somebody you can talk about and make up. And chances are, if you've been through this, you've also been through the cycle of them coming back to you with tears and saying they realize how wrong their ways are, and then them doing the whole thing over again. So if you didn't go into the whole thing over again and saved yourself that trip, good effing job. It's the only thing I regret about the last decade is but I had to do it as many times as I had to do it, and I'm just so happy to be free, and I'm making this message because I care about those that are stuck in this trap, and I want to help them. And I'm designing a women's retreat for survivors of narcissistic abuse who want to heal codependency and self-partner, and also heal the narcissistic abuse, which causes complex post-traumatic syndrome. So you can look that up, CPTSD. And look at the times you feel obligated to do something that you don't really want to do for someone because of how they're going to feel. That's a big thing that hooks us into this abuse cycle. And it's very real. I was suicidal when I was 17 because of this very situation, which I did not understand for, what's it been? 16 years it took me to figure out what was actually going on. And so I just want to help people figure that out, because one of the most awful things about this is people suffer in silence. And part of the narcissistic abuse is that they are trying to make you think it's you. Woo! Sorry about that. I just had a bout with my little makeshift hose sprinkler situation where it has a hole in it and I direct it. So now, yeah, I got doused, which is really nice because it's summer and I'm enjoying a lovely second day of my juice cleanse. But I just wanted to finish by saying, I love you, you're not alone, and part of healing our own suffering is making boundaries and telling people no. It's not accepting everything and then saying, oh, there's something wrong with me and it's my job to, work with this. When you're dealing with normal people, healthy mentally people, then yes, that's true. And that's your tribe, that's your inner circle. But we need to start looking at our relationships, light beings, healers, people of the world who want to be happier. That is, it's an epidemic and it's going on for millions. And